G'day and welcome to Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. As always, it's a real honour and privilege to have you join me and have your energy contribute to these stories. I think tonight I'm just going to go straight into the crystals and see where the stories lead us. So we will do that. Oh, wow. So last night we had aventurine for the heart, and again it's the same crystal, which, to be perfectly honest, doesn't surprise me. One thing I have, I guess, noticed recently is our heart songs and how weary they can become. I guess when we're walking this earth, that it's, but on a basic level, on a very physical level, it's our heart needing to beat to actually keep us going in this particular vessel to go forward. So without our hearts, we would be rather stumped. There's various bits of our body that we can do without and continue to explore and expand and grow. But the basic piece of our body that we need is our heart, and how it beats does sort of help, really. But I was also thinking just then, sort of like, our hearts speed up as we get anxious, as we get excited. It pumps blood around our system a lot more quickly, or to enable us for that fight or flight response. But equally, it beats less. It has, it can actually slow down when we meditate, and it can actually help calm us down. It can, if we can hear it, sometimes it can help us feel alive. Though conversely, I know some people that don't particularly like hearing their own heart, for whatever reason. And our hearts have a lot of stories to tell. What it is to make meaning, how we make meaning, the feelings and emotions we attach to different things. And that can actually bring about an existence more than just the physical level, but the emotional level. We can actually have a fluttering in our heart, and we can attribute that to love for many different things. We can have that sense when we're looking at a sunset or a sunrise, just that beauty, and that sort of can end up with that inner peace that we can tend to feel more within our heart space than anywhere else. I mean, we can, within our sacral area, have that gut response, but it's almost like the emotional information given by our hearts as to whether that helps determine what it is we're experiencing when we're looking at something or we're feeling something. So that heart space is really important. And I guess if we've feeling heart weary, or we've been hurt in our heart space, we can actually feel disconnected. So we can almost feel numb when we're looking at things, and it can help inform our experiences, I guess, within that. But really, that space is so important, and the melding of it. But I guess we really need to be comfortable in our heart space with ourselves before we can actually move into relationship with other people, I guess. But it's also, it's almost like there seems to be this pressure put on that to walk through this world successfully. I suppose really in Western cultures, I'm not so sure about others, but I'll speak about the culture that I'm most familiar with, is that there's almost like this expectation that we should find a mate and grow and explore together, which I suppose is nice, but I really feel that actually having that relationship within ourselves and then expanding that out to the world that we're walking on, other creatures, etc., that can bring such a richness and diversity to us. And if we explore all elements of our heart and our emotions, then that can bring about a greater richness. I have noticed over the years, as I feel more comfortable in my skin and more comfortable in my heart space, that I get more joy out of listening to the birds in the morning, watching the sun come up in the morning or go down in the evening, going outside and just looking at the stars, noticing the sunset from my lounge window, and the colours that are created, and capturing that in my heart space. And that has a feeling of blissfulness that doesn't cost anything. And it's about a relationship with ourselves. And then that goes out to the relationship we have with things around us. I've recently learnt as well, I know that I mention a lot about putting our roots into earth and just sort of drawing on our energy. But it was highlighted in something recently for me that we should honour and ask for that root to come to us and approach with gratitude and blessings and reverence, I guess, in a way, but real acknowledgement that there is a living quality within the earth, underneath our feet, that we are nourished and supported by her, but equally she can be nourished and supported by us if we pay attention correctly. And it's that sharing, that embodiment, that sharing, and that loving space as well within the heart. So yeah, I'm going to see what cards come out now, and see where this story goes. It's one thing having my hair down, but it does keep getting in the cards. So the three cards today are the Clouds, the Scythe, and the Owl. So quite tricky cards, and I really feel at the moment that we're really in sort of tricky circumstances, and the Clouds for me indicate sort of the turbulence that seems to be around at the moment. I have certainly noticed over the past couple of days, well, for the past couple of months really, but I've noticed it sort of energetically over the past couple of days that there is a time sort of within a space of 24 hours where I feel quite connected, in touch with my heart space, in touch with the world around me, feeling like I have a positive idea about where I'm going, how I'm walking, that everything is okay. And then it's almost like in the next breath sometimes that a stray thought will come in, or I'll catch something on the news or telly, or looking through Facebook, that will almost bring a darker cloud through, and I feel less in contact with myself, and I start to feel disconnected from the world around me. And although those moments tend to be quite brief, they can erode your feelings, I find. And then you can sort of start sort of experiencing sort of more anxiety, more stress, more fear, and can get caught in that darkness, and almost like that rabbit hole aspect of going down different lines, that we're never going to get out of lockdown, that it's never going to be brighter, doesn't matter what we do, it's never going to work, and you can get stuck into that particular negative mind cycle, as it were. And then it's almost like the sun comes out, or we have contact with somebody that we weren't expecting, that we then have another fleeting thought, or we notice something else that can lift our mood. So for me, what the feel I get around this card in relation to the heart is really connecting in and noticing these times when we have an emotional response to something, and having a look at where that comes from. Noticing whether it's a specific language, notice whether it's a specific smell that might be taking you back somewhere else, that you may have a different anxiety that's playing off that you're not aware of, that a specific word or a specific phrase links you into that without realizing. So it's really taking that breath again and slowing your heart rate down, meditating, just doing some deep breaths, focusing on your heart and hearing it beat, calming yourself down, noticing what reactions you have. Does it speed up your heart? Do you become panicky? Do you become breathless? Why? What could be the worst outcome? Where does that come from in the first place? Is it something that's been triggered from the past that you may not have dealt with? Really having a look into it, really having a sense. So the clouds and this up and down feeling from the energies around, and not necessarily, I don't feel a negative, I just feel like there's information. The clouds feel like there's information coming in, but it's a bit like having a rain cloud and having a sudden deluge. We end up focusing on the fact that we're wet, as opposed to the fact that that rain could be washing away grime, dirt, giving water to the plants, clearing space, so that we can actually go in and find shelter. It's the way of looking at it, I find sometimes, which leads me into the scythe. So part of finding or backtracking where some of these fleeting thoughts come from, where is it that sort of like we keep hearing information that sends us into panicking? Is it doing us any good? Is it actually real? Can we turn it off? Can we find the end of it and cut it away? Ask for it to be transformed or transmuted into something else. But really getting to the root cause of the up and down internal emotions. What triggered that heart? What triggered your heart to go faster in the first place? And how do we counteract that? Getting into deep, pulling out the darkness, pulling out the blackness, witnessing it, not getting lost in the story, and just freeing ourselves, giving our heart the space to actually be heard, without judgment, without panic, I guess. So yeah, really with the scythe, just knowing that we have got the power to remove those old conditionings, those old habits, noticing where they come from in the first place and cutting them, clearing them, really clearing out space for us to breathe and to feel human, to feel whole. And then the last card is the owl. So the owl is about gossiping. And I think that's very much part of the clouds, as well as, I suppose, because everything is dragging on for a lot longer than we were initially informed it would. And there's been a lot of times, especially in the UK, where we've had sort of like the golden lining, the pot of gold, that light at the end of the tunnel keep being shown to us, and then just as we feel like we're getting somewhere, it gets taken away. And that can be really painful. And then you don't know where to look or where to focus. So it's becoming less reliant on, again, what I've been saying in the past about where we put our anchor, and becoming our emotions or our well-being is linked into somebody else or an external factor. So actually looking at how we may be doing that, really centering back into ourselves and recognizing that we have the power, the sovereignty, the free will to choose how we react to things. Noticing the clouds, noticing the words, the phrases, the smells, those little instances that seem to take us into darkness or lift us up for us only to be dashed. So we become more self-reliant and really notice what helps make our hearts sing and seek that out more. Seek to do things that bring joy. Become less reliant on other people's opinions. Do things for your own heart and what works for you, how you soothe yourself without really asking other people's permission or seeking their approval. Because at the end of the day, it's us that's actually walking this life. And it's a long time for most of us to traverse this path. And we need our hearts to be healthy on all levels so that we actually can continue living and breathing along the way. And if we're seeking out approval all the time and listening for that, becoming reliant on that, then the negative words or the critical words become equally valuable within us, and we listen to those from an external point of view, and we can end up feeding that into what the story is already within. So it's really being aware that as we're listening to other people's viewpoints, that we're listening to statements or comments, or acknowledging how we're actually allowing them to settle within us, and really setting up not a barrier but a filtration system. The heart has a filtration system, our bodies have a filtration system to clear out the garbage that we don't need and excrete it. And when our bodies end up having that built up within it, that's when we end up having problems. So we end up having gallstones or kidney stones, because too much builds up. There's an overload. So it's almost like having a look at our hearts in that way and just noticing if we've ended up clogging our filtration system and have lost the ability to actually filter before it gets in there, the good and the bad. And it's not to say just allow the good stuff in, because it's almost unbalanced that way. We need to be able to differentiate and determine that that's other people's opinions and not necessarily where we live or how we choose to live. And we have that right, we have that choice to actually choose to live in a manner that is actually healing and healthy for ourselves. And I think what's coming through quite strongly for me in this, and part of what we need to cut, is linking in our internal value, our internal love, our internal compassion for ourselves based on external factors. It's about actually really going within and learning how to love ourselves and be okay with ourselves, irrespective of what someone externally is saying. I hope this is making sense and resonating for some of you out there. I do find it intriguing that the Green Aventurine has actually come out twice, 2 days in a row. I'm going to see which song comes out for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that I actually made sense tonight. I'm not entirely sure. With a bit of luck, I will be back again tomorrow. I'll endeavour to be so. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Bye for now.